Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. This is a chart that I showed on my poll question. My poll question was, what indexes beat the S&P 500 index? And there were three of them. Which one was the best performing? XLK beat the S&P 500 index, which S&P had a 19.16% 6-month return. The technology index, January through June, did a 22.35. Communications did 26.55. And the semiconductor index did 56.56 in that time period. So that was pretty interesting. Now let's go over to our Bitcoin chart. We sold all of our Bitcoin yesterday at 65, I believe 700. And we had it in the BitX fund. So we're just kind of seeing if this pulls back. We had a target of 60,500. It did pull back. The 63,500 is bouncing a little bit. We'll just continue to watch that. And let us go over to our word of the day. Our word of the day is Liberatim. Liberatim, letter by letter. The monk copied down the theological text Liberatim. So there we have that. Let us go to our S&P 500 heat map. It's coming up a little slow here. It has been a chill map for all the big cap tech. Not sure if this is currently, we're going to just pause this a moment and make sure we got the most. We're back. So NVIDIA was down close to 2%. It's now slightly positive. Tesla is bouncing. It's up almost 3% today. So that is kind of the story. Eli Lilly continues to be down 3.5%. Energy is up. We got healthcare is up. Home builders are up. Home builders are ETF of the day. And our IPO of the day is ALAB in the semiconductor area. And our stock of the day is ServiceNow, which had a pretty good earnings report and is bouncing and carrying some of the software names up with it. So if you are at all concerned about a hard landing and yesterday being a continuation, you don't want to let your 401k turn into a 201k. What happened in 2008 can happen again. This account goes up when the market goes up, and it does not come down when the market comes down. It will stay flat and beats index investing by about 5% per year. And currently there are bonuses out there from 25 to 45%. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to send a comment. So let us go over to our indexes. This is IPO that we put on yesterday, and we've added to it today. We had the Ditch Road. We'll continue to watch it in the infrastructure space. Yeah, it had a big downdraft here and then pulled into the sell area, so we got rid of that one. And then let us go to the dollar index. Dollar index is kind of flat today. Silver, big gap down in silver pricing. So we thought it might come down to 23. We got a couple of gaps on the upside that need to be filled. This one and this one over here, but we'll continue to watch that one. Gold, pulling back a little bit here. I think there's been some strength in the dollar, even though the dollar index isn't really showing it. Copper is bouncing. CCJ and uranium continues to pull back. So we'll continue to watch that. And now we go on to our bond yields. Bond yields pull back a little bit and is bouncing from the lows. It's down to 4.24% interest. And the 20-year yield is pulling back as well. It's down 1.8%. So there we go. Look at the VIX. VIX hit our target of 18.38 and went even higher this morning. Went all the way to 1936. So that is the story with the VIX. S&P 500 is bouncing now after hitting those lows, 0.85%. Take a look at RSP. RSP is bouncing as well. It's up 1.27%. The NASDAQ is bouncing as well, up 0.66%. Equal weight is up 1.12%. That's good news. IWM is pretty strong. It's up almost 2.5%. And the Dow Jones has turned positive as well, up 1.23%. So is the correction, near-term correction over? That's a big question. Dow Jones went up pretty high. It pulled back to its 20-day moving average. So that is the story there. Just take a look at some of the sector funds. Financials are bouncing. Got a bounce in the communications. Energy is bouncing. Take a look at oil pricing. Oil prices bounce as well. Utilities. We got a little pullback in utilities. Tried to move higher and pulled back a little bit. Real estate. Building materials are bouncing. Mining and metals are bouncing as well. Must be more steel producers. Home builders, our ETF of the day is up about 3%. Infrastructure is bouncing as well. Let us go to semiconductors. Big sell-off, and they're trying to bounce here, up 0.6%. Biotech continues to work strong. And we added to ALAB yesterday. Pulled back to the 10-day moving average right over here. That's working out. It's up 9% today. So let us go to the news. The bull-bear spread in American Association of Individual Investors was 11.5 versus 29.3 last week. Bulls fall to 43.2 from 52.7. Neutrals rise to 25.1 from 23.8. And bears rise to 31.7 from 23.4. German business morale unexpectedly fell in July as the IFO Institute and its business climate index sank to 87 in July from 88.7 in June. Japan PPI services index rose by a lot quicker than expected, 3% in June from a year earlier. The key contributors of reacceleration remained hotel services, which price rose 26.9. PBOC unexpectedly lowered the one-year policy loan rate of 20 basis points to 2.3. And There was a little bit of higher inflation in the PCE index this morning. We'll pull that up for you in a little bit. And let's go to our sector news. Chipotle had a good report. Adjusted EPS 34 cents versus 32 cents. They did sell off though, off 2.32%. Churchill Downs adjusted EBITDA 4.8 million versus 409. I'm just going to adjust our report as we got a lot of news to get through here. Churchill Downs initially sold off and is bouncing back. Ford Motor, Q2 adjusted EPS 47 cents versus 68. That's a big miss, down almost 17%. Las Vegas Sands, adjusted property EBITDA 1.07 billion versus 1.064. And that is selling off a little bit here. Meritage Homes, home builders, Q2 EPS $6.31 versus $5.18. Initially sells off, but is bouncing back. Nestle lowered its sales outlook for the year, saying now expect sales grow at least 3% lower than roughly 4% previously forecast, and they are losing almost 4%. O'Reilly Automotive, Q2 EPS 10.55 versus 10.98, and that's a miss. So they are down. Actually, it bounces back up 5.42%. Interesting. QuantumScape, Q2 EPS 25-cent loss versus 23-cent loss, and they are gapping down 8%. Royal Caribbean, Q2 EPS $3.21 versus consensus of $2.75. You would think that move up, but it is selling off, down 4.2%. Whirlpool, Q2 EPS $2.39, in line with estimates, and they are bouncing after pulling back after their 50-day moving average at 1.79. Wyndham Hotels, Q2 EPS $1.13 versus $1.03. Yeah, they really took off here. Look, up 10% with 378% increase in volume. Just adjusting our news report here. Onto energy, industrials, and materials. Dow, Q2 EPS 68 cents, miss consensus 71 cents, selling off 0.53%, sold off and really bounced strongly. Honeywell International sells off 4%. Earnings topped $2.42 was the estimate. $2.49 was the result, and it is selling off on that news. Knight Swift Transport, Q2 EPS 24 cents versus 28 cents, a miss, and look, it's moving up 9.27%. Was not as bad a miss, I guess, as people anticipated. 51% missed on earnings compared to the year ago quarter. Newmont Mining said anticipating sequential increase in production in the second half of the year, weighted towards the fourth quarter. Scalp down, recovering somewhat, getting above the 20-day moving average. Public Services Group, it's been in the news quite a bit. EPS $1.61 versus $1.53. Initially moved up, but it's now selling off. It's off 3%. United Rentals, Q2 adjusted EPS $10.70 versus $10.54. Sold off, bounced off the 20-day moving average, up nearly 7%. And Waste Management, Q2 EPS $1.69 versus $1.83 estimate. That's not good. That was a miss, off 7%. Waste Connections, Q2 EPS, $1.24 versus $1.17. Typed in the wrong letters, but here we go. It's off 2.6%. On to financials. Bank of America raises dividend 8%, announces $25 billion share repurchase plan. Ameriprise Financial, Q2 EPS. Their shares are up nearly 5%. We're just going to pause for one moment here. So Ameriprise Financial, Q2 EPS 872 versus 853. This is why this is jumping. Pretty good volume yesterday. Its earnings are up 17%. On to Invitation Homes. Q2 AFFO, a share 47 cents versus estimate 47 cents was not what people were looking for. It's a REIT that owns and operates single-family homes for lease across America. Raymond James Financial, Q3 adjusted EPS, $2.39 versus consensus of $2.32, and it is bouncing. It pulled back below the 200-day moving average, something you do not like to see. And it is bouncing. It's up 4.19. It is above the 10 and 20-day moving average as well today. Healthcare. Align Technologies. This is the braces that they put on your teeth. Q2 EPS $2.41 versus $2.30. Not what people were looking for, I guess. It's down almost 6%. AstraZeneca raised its full-year sales and profit forecast after beating analyst expectations for Q2. And the stock is dropping as the earnings were not what people were hoping for. 2% down. BioMarin Pharmaceuticals said the FDA approved the company's supplemental biologics license application, SBLA, for Brineura to slow the loss of ambulation in children of all ages for neuronal ceroid hippofunctionosis type 2, also known as tripeptidal. Some of these biological names are difficult for me to pronounce. Concentra Group Holdings, parent, a wholly owned subsidiary of Select Medical, today announced the pricing of Concentra's IPO at 22.5 million shares of Concentra's common stock at $23.50 per share. And look at it here, it opened up, went way higher. Let's see, where did it go to? It went to 22.35, and now it is pulling back. We can take a look at SEM, Select Medical. Their stock is moving up a little bit. And let's just keep on motoring. Edwards Life Sciences, Q2 EPS 70 cents versus 69. EPS increased 25%, and we got a huge drop here. It's down 29%. It's like Q2 trends, catheter aortic valve replacement sales 1.04 billion, up 4.7% year over year. Yeah, that's a big downturn. There must be something else going on at Edwards. We'll have to look into that. Molina Healthcare, Q2 adjusted EPS, $5.86 versus estimate $5.50. And the stock is moving up 15% on that news. Roche raised its full-year earnings forecast after exceeding expectations for the first half, driven by strong demand for newer drugs such as eye medicine, Vabi Simo said it expects growth in the adjusted earnings high digit range. So that is propelling their stock further, up 2.83%. Viking Therapeutics, a huge move today. Quarter two EPS loss of 20 cents versus estimate of 27 cents. I not typed the right symbol. Viking Therapeutics, huge move, up 38%. United Health Service, quarter two adjusted EPS $4.31 versus $3.28. It is moving out of the pivot zone. It is up 8% today. So now we move on to technology, media, and telecom, which has been letting us down previous few days. We'll just have to see what happens. Here's an old one, old blue, IBM, into the pivot zone, up about 7%. It did try to break out here, and a big pullback here. Turns into a cup with a handle over here, and it is breaking out today. On to Impinj. Quarter two adjusted EPS 83 cents versus 74 cents. Moving up slightly, up 4.57% on 152% increase in earnings. KLA Tencor making a big move. Quarter four adjusted EPS $6.60 versus $6.11, up 4% here. Kind of broke out of the pivot, moved up, got into the profit zone, and it is kind of recycling and now bouncing out of that zone. Max Linear, quarter two EPS 25-cent loss versus estimate 19-cent loss, a big gap down. Earnings fell 174%, 31% loss on that Max Linear. Quarter two EPS on Ribbon Communications, 5 cents versus 5 cents. And it is falling big time, down 20%. ServiceNow, which is kind of saving the market in software. Earnings up $3.13 versus consensus $2.84. We almost bought this last night. I wish we had. It was at $7.70, and it is up 16% today. Teradyne, quarter two EPS 86 cents versus estimate 77 cents. Their stock falls 10%. Earnings of 9% increase was not enough for what people were looking for. Tyler Technologies, quarter two EPS $2.40 versus consensus $2.30. It jumps into the profit zone. Right over here on the previous earnings, it jumps into the pivot, pulled back to the 50-day, and is just continuing on up. We're getting towards the end here. Warner Brothers, the NBA said late Wednesday that TNT did not match the terms of Amazon rights bid and that Amazon will be the new streaming partner for the league. Earlier this week, TNT, a division of Warner Brothers Discovery, an NBA partner since 1989, announced it had matched a competing bid to remain rights partners with the league. So their stock is falling 5% on that news. Finally, Allegro Microsystems, $25 million share, secondary price $24, and their stock is up 1.3% on that news, which is somewhat surprising, but it did gap down yesterday. So that was on earnings. No, the earnings aren't until August, so maybe somebody had some inside knowledge of that stock offering, and that's what we have to report for today. We're going to go take a look of what's up. %10 and 200% increase in volume. Carpenter Technologies, which has had a little bit of a consolidation, but big jump up here. They're a manufacturer, cobalt, nickel, titanium, chromium, and iron scrap. Huge move today, up a little over 17%. Went past the profit zone. We looked at ServiceNow earlier. Bally's, hotels, casinos, retail outlets, sports bars, dining, food court. Big gap up. They're up 20, almost 25% on 9,614% increase in volume. Look at that volume bar. Earnings aren't for 6 days. Pegasystems, they're up big, up 15% on nearly 1,000% increase in earnings. Goosehead, we got like 10 items here we're going to go through. Goosehead Holding, they're up just about 25%. They were, I guess, an IPO in 2020. Helm, engaged in the contract drilling of oil and gas wells, primarily in North and South America. Big move up, almost 10%. Earnings declined 16%, must have been better than expected. We looked at, this is Marine Max. It is up 14.5% on 27% decline in earnings. We looked at Molina Healthcare in the news. We have NetScout Systems, and it gaps up 13%. And finally, Viking, we looked at in the news. So that is the story there. So let us go over to, we're currently doing IoT on the strong news of ServiceNow. We bought this at 29, continues on up a little over 7%. Got out of NVIDIA yesterday. Pullback is pretty close to where we got out. So we're going to see if this gets supported, the 50-day moving average. Generally, big companies like NVIDIA do get supported, the 50-day moving average, by professional money managers. There's a lot of people that have been selling, but we'll take a look at that once it gets there. It's a pretty nice bounce today. We're going to just bring up a report. We looking at Brothers. We put a short at 37, shorted a put at 37. We'll see if that pays off. If not, it would be nice to add a little bit to Dutch Brothers. I believe we did also add call spread on Dutch Brothers this morning. Kava Mediterranean Grill. Looks like it's getting a little bit of a bounce. We did short the $88 calls on Kava when it was right up around here. So that is Kava. Was a sell-off in APO this morning, but it is bouncing. You can see it went below its 20-day moving average, and now it's bouncing up above that, up 1.5%. Labu is one of our better performers for the day, up a little over 9.6%. We did add to Datadog this morning, added some call options on Datadog at right around 120, and it's bouncing. It's up 3.6% today. And actually, Brothers was down earlier, and it is bouncing up to 3.761. We already looked at that, but I'm just going to open up our positions here. Got into Southern yesterday, tried to move higher, and it pulled back. It looks like it's getting close to the 10-day moving average. Front Door is an option that we've taken some of our profit. It did sell off a little bit and is bouncing back. It's up 0.85%. App did sell off pretty strong today, but it is trying to come back. It's actually up a few dollars this morning on the bounce. Continue to hold this aviation, Archer Aviation. Did have a strong pullback below the 200-day, bouncing off of the 20-day right here. And Way, we showed this earlier. We cut road and we added to Way on the bounce of 2.46%. Let's just take a look at a couple other issues here in the IPO arena. Bowhead is pulling back right here. And that cup with the handle here, it came out of here and it pulled back to the 10-day. It's bouncing lower. Wow, it had a nice sell-off yesterday. It's bouncing back today. PAX Group is bouncing up 1.69%. It did move higher yesterday. They were our IPO of the day yesterday and then sold off, but they are bouncing back today. I'm just going to go to my IPO list so I can look at a couple more in the IPO category. MRX, we'll just go over to the list. MRX pulled back yesterday and it is bouncing. It's getting pretty close to breaking out. This is a pivot area. This is a cup formation that just shows the price and volume down here. This is the IPO base where it broke out of and then has sold off. So we'll see if it can get into this area. We had this in one of our other accounts we manage. Proficient Auto Logistics. Look at that thing soar. It's up another 4% today. So Vaca Group, on this downturn, we got out yesterday. It's bouncing a little bit up, 0.11%. And finally, Tempest AI had a big sell-off yesterday, and it is bouncing up 5% today. So that is the story. And finally, our IPO of the day is ALAB. It's up 3.14%. We'll see if this can create a bottoming base and start moving higher. But that is our report for today. Mornings with Michael is for information and education purposes only. Hope everybody has a great day. Go out there, continue working on your goals and your activities, and we'll be here to support you with a show tomorrow on Friday. Have a great day, everyone.